Hi, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Before I begin today's class, is there anyone who has any doubt, any question of any kind? Could be about your preparation style, strategy, could be your concerns about upcoming prelims. Could also be about your opinions on what's happening in Silicon Valley. Doesn't matter. Because many of you will lose jobs with what's happening in Silicon Valley if you are in any job. Okay, so there's a quick announcement to make. The first one is that we will have no class tomorrow. That's on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. These 3 days, no classes. Use the time to chill. We have a lot of time before the exam. But we will follow through on our 4 days per week strategy. So replacement classes will be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. Anjali, what's your question or your opinion?
Hello, Naman. Hi, everyone. So I'm fairly new. This is my fourth class. It's actually third. No, fourth. So I was going through the recordings and I couldn't really understand how to go with it because I joined really late and I've missed so many classes. So far, I am really liking it. It didn't feel like a disconnect. So that's a nice thing. But then I don't know how to go with the previous classes that I have missed. How should I catch up with that? I am watching it. I am trying to get all of that, but then I really need some guidance maybe.
Okay. I think one thing that I have realized, and I will also urge you all to follow through on this is always have realistic goals in mind. Because in the journey, you all will stumble upon a situation where you would want to study for 16 hours per day. You will do that for a day or two. But after a week, you will give up. And therefore, we're following through on this trajectory of 4 hours per day, not more than that, not less than that. Once we have to pick the pace, I'll let you know. So, Anjali, my advice would be, for now, don't worry about post reads for the previous classes. Just watch through the recordings whenever you get the time.
Okay.
And every day, set aside you have to watch through 2 episodes. We call it episodes. It's very exciting, interesting.
Yeah.
In time to come, you will cover all those episodes. So, for example, we won't be having classes for next 3 days.
Yeah.
So you can cover 6 episodes.
Got it.
And continue with your live classes. Those are very important.
Yeah.
And to all those who are attending the class for the first time or have missed out on lectures, do not worry at all. Every class, my expectation is that you do not come up with biases. You don't do any pre-reads. That is not needed. Every class is a new story. Try to form new conjectures. That is what's going to happen when you are appearing for civil services. You will not be knowing the answers. And that's absolutely fine. It all boils down to how you make conjectures, how you form opinions, how rationally can you think, how logically you can connect dots.
Thank you so much, sir. And I have a question from the previous class. At the beginning of the class, you asked about why Ajmer, why Chishti decided to settle down in Ajmer, and why all of that. So, is there any answer? Should we discuss on it, or should we just leave it?
That's a homework, right? That was a homework. We'll discuss it in the end.
Okay. I did a bit of research on that.
Why don't you guys make use of a discussion platform on the website, and so that you can all share opinions and others can perhaps gain from the opinions. And with this, in this way, you can also start writing answers, even though I truly believe daily answer writing is a nonsense exercise. A lot of UPSC aspirants waste time in that. But if you want to share opinions, you can do that on the discussion platform.
Okay. Sure. We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Great. Twinkle, what's your question?
I said, no, I just had an opinion about the Silicon Valley Bank situation, if we have time for that.
We'll see. I'll talk about it because I also invest in startups. So I will keep on sharing my opinions on many things happening in the world of startups. Nakul? I can't hear you, Nakul.
Hello.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Yeah, so actually, I don't know if my fellow peers also share this sentiment, but because I joined late, so I have, sessions to catch up on, and I'm only focusing on ancient and medieval right now, so I'm not really picking up anything. But sometimes, you also tend to question yourself because everything is going so seamless that you are, and then you hear stories of people, who are maybe, studying a lot of stuff at the same time. So that guilt trip also sets in where you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not putting enough, which is required by the exam, because so many people say so many things that they have put in so much work. And then because I'm so focused on ancient and medieval, I have somehow also started missing out on newspaper reading as well, which I was doing ardently before I joined this platform. And at the same time, actually, I'm also a little concerned about the optional, because I'm going to take up English literature, and I'm not, and which is a subject which is not really popular, I would say, amongst the UPSC aspirants. So I also wanted to check with you if I should start with that as of now, or if I should postpone it like for a later stage, because honestly, ancient and medieval itself, take a lot of my time, because I'm catching up on the recordings and then I have post reads. So yes, I wanted your advice on that.
Okay, so Nakul, I'm not a spokesperson from Ministry of External Affairs who will write down every question and give a proper answer to each of those questions. So I'll respond to questions that I remember. Okay, the first thing that you mentioned was you're a little concerned and stressed about the fact that you're putting in so less effort, just 4 hours per day. I hope that's there, 4 hours per day. That has to be there. And you hear stories of people putting 16 hours per day. Forget about it. See, I know one thing, 4 hours per day right now, we will pick pace in time to come. Folks I will be studying with, there are many of you who will be appearing for prelims in 23. They will realize in the end how we will pick pace, at least for them. All I know is it's humanistically not possible to give 16 hours every day for 1 year. If you're in very early stages of UPSC preparation, start loving the subjects, start loving your routine. Be excited to come to classes. Be very excited to watch through the recordings. We've started ancient history. We've completed ancient history. We're almost about to complete medieval history. We'll begin with the modern history. And you're also connecting dots with the world of business and international affairs along the journey. And that is beautiful right now. You're almost about to complete the reading of one standard book. And believe me, not many will do it the way you are doing it. You're remembering things. We'll pick pace in some time, but for now, just study as efficiently as possible for the first 4 hours. If you have extra time, watch Netflix, watch YouTube, play cricket, go to gym. If you have more time, do internships. You're aiming for 24. Just focus on what we're doing here right now. Don't be stressed. Let others be filled with anxiety, desperation, and so on and so forth. Just chill for some time. Your second question was about English literature as an optional subject. See, about optional subject, my advice is, and I think I will confuse you a lot in time to come, because once you're done with history, many of you will think that I should perhaps take history as the optional because I love that subject so much. Once we're done with polity, you will think that I should perhaps take political science as international relations as one of the subjects. With geography, same story. The good thing is, at least with the arts subjects that we have, there's a good amount of overlap. If you're very good with polity, NIR, if you're very good with geography for the GS paper or with history for GS paper, it will not take you more than 2 months to re-revise these syllabus for optional also. And you can do that even after your prelims. So for now, just focus on GS, read newspaper, don't stop reading newspapers. It's good to form opinions. Don't take notes, that's not needed, but have opinions on whatever is happening in the world. And again, my assumption is, Nakul, that you're appearing 24, not 23. Okay. Kundan, what's your question?
Hi, sir. Hi, everyone. So I have not so urgent questions, but I have been trying to ask them for a few days now. So you had mentioned in one of the classes that for these networking events, you'll be asking for volunteers and emails would be sent. But we didn't receive any emails regarding that. And I also wanted to ask, when will this LinkedIn group be activated?
Yeah. So the first thing is, a lot of changes are going to happen in the way things function at MisFits. I'm personally not very fond of the idea of having volunteers because it's unpaid work. I would want to ensure that whosoever is volunteering is accountable and is paid decent money for whatever work that they do. Vijyanagar is in charge. I think you all met him in the networking event, and he will perhaps proceed with the operations on how he would want to drive the community. I'll request him to
So
send
I
the email.
Sure,
Yeah.
sir. Okay, thank you. I had one more question, and that is also not important, but I just wanted to know, as in for 2024, we are having these sessions every day, and we'll be finishing the syllabus by October and everything. But what about the like 25 and 26 and the other years? We'll not be having live classes as regularly as we are having now. So will we be connecting, or will we
Okay.
be connected only on email or anything?
Okay. And let me say this thing very clearly and categorically. And of course, it's getting recorded, so it's also good. That you're stuck now with MisFits. I won't let you go so easily. So whenever you have, so even though officially the syllabus, we're aiming to end it around September, October. But of course, we will have sessions before prelims also and mains also for 24, 25, 26. But yes, you will have access to all the recordings. And the goal is simple. All of you have to clear the exam. And you should have no excuse to not be able to clear the exam. So if we think that it is going to be beneficial for you to have these extra sessions, we will do it. And not a single penny
Thank you.
extra will be charged for it. So don't worry about it. And again, I want to record. It's getting recorded. So I can
Thank
be
you,
held
sir. For the
accountable.
first time, I'm glad to be stuck somewhere.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, I'll take questions for like 3-4 more minutes and we'll begin the class. Harvinder, what's your question?
Sir, I want to ask a question, but not right now. Please give me some time after the class.
Okay.
A minute or two. Yes.
Shrestha, what's your question?
Yeah, so my question is, we saw Firoz Shah Tughlaq
Is it just me or she's not audible? Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw that Firoz Shah Tughlaq introduced irrigation tax, but when I was studying Mughal, again, I was just revising it. So there I studied that Mauryan Empire also charged some revenue for irrigation. So is it same or different?
You were studying Mughal, Mauryan? I'm confused.
Sorry, sorry, I was studying Mauryan. Yeah.
Okay, so for
I was
Tughlaq, I think it's an important fact
revising it.
because you can be asked in the exam. So you have to remember it. And we had a lengthy discussion so that you can always remember it on that component. Because in the MCQs, you could be asked such questions.
And what about like
Mauryan's, don't
Mauryan
worry about it.
Empire?
No.
Yeah.
Basis the past paper that
Thanks.
I've seen, some kinds of questions are getting repeated. And I'm saying this again. If you were to analyze the past papers, you would realize that UPSC has a tendency to ask certain kinds of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Swarnendu, what's your question?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. Hello, sir. Sir, my question is regarding the previous class. We discussed that most of the bhakti proponents, they denounced idol worship. So why did they denounce idol worship? I mean, was it due to the syncretic nature of that movement, or was it because of the fact that the sculpture
I'm not able to hear him.
that it was divine?
Okay, is it just me or were you not audible for some time? Okay, it wasn't audible to anyone. Not audible. Okay, so my net is fine. So Rindu, we can come to your question again once you have a decent connection. It's a good question, and I would want to discuss this with the class whenever you are back. But until that happens, I think I should start the class. Otherwise, this will take forever. And for all the questions that you might have, please feel free to put this on discussion board. And I'm very sure most of you will figure out answers on your own. That's the goal. No spoon feeding. And I'm so glad you're asking all the good questions. Anyone attending this live class for the very first time, you can raise your virtual hands. Diksha is. Mohit, Surbhi. So Mohit, Diksha, Surbhi. Simple point. Every class is a new class. Make all the mistakes. And I repeat this again and again so that others are also made aware of the ethos of misfits. Most of the time in life, we're very scared to make mistakes because we think what others might think about us, which is a suicide mission. That's not how you grow. You will grow in life as long as you're asking dumb questions, as long as you're making as many mistakes as possible. But all these mistakes should be made in this ecosystem, which is safe, not in the actual examination hall. So make many mistakes. All of you have your hands raised because now I'm going to ask you to make a mistake. Okay, I'm going to show you a map. Please have your hands raised. Diksha, Surbhi, Mohit, all the new members. Now we all know that we have no idea, at least my expectation is that you have not done the pre-reads, and we have no idea about the Vijyanagar Empire. We have no idea about the Bahamani kingdoms. Absolutely no idea. Now I want you to reconstruct the history by just looking at the map. Works, Diksha, Mohit, Shraddha? I'll just show you the map. Look at it very calmly, patiently, because in UPSC also, you will come across topics and questions you have no idea of. But then you have to beat around the bushes. You can't be leaving any question. So look at the map and then form conjectures about what kind of history are we now going to talk about? What will be the features of that empire? Why would those be the features of that empire? Okay. Now, can you all see the map? Just look at this. We're talking about this part of India. Okay. This is going to be the Vijayanagar Empire. And I'm for now concerned about this empire. Look at this very calmly, patiently, put this into context. Look at the geography, analyze the geography, and think, what kind of empire would this be? And why would that be the case? Because believe me, we can construct entire history of this beautiful kingdom by looking at this map. See, the atlas is the Oxford Atlas, page 63, Indian history. Yes, Diksha, after you. What do you think? If you have no opinions, that's also fine, but you have to say that out loud. Mohit, would you be here to assist Diksha?
Hi, Naman. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon to all. So I can see that it's in southern part of India. So we have two geographical locations over here. One is the coastal line and one is the Deccan Plateau. And apart from that, we also have hills over there. So I believe that the empire or the economy will be very much affected by these two things.
Yeah.
So the coastal lines will help us, will help the empire for trade routes.
Yeah.
And the Deccan Plateau will help the empire to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So these are my broad areas. How I
Fantastic.
can think about it.
And beautiful. You have to think along these lines. Now, because it's they have access to both sides of coasts, this empire will perhaps have trading relations with a lot of empires. Perhaps in Iran, perhaps in Portugal, to even in Southeast Asia, right? Access to so many ports. We also look at the Raichur Dwab, very important region. The entire history can be constructed by looking at map. Reasons why certain empires and emperors change capitals, answer lies in geography. But today, see, today's class, we cannot begin by showing you a video. And I will show you a couple of videos so that you can now feel immersed into the ecosystem of this beautiful of Vijayanagar Empire. Now you need to tell me, simple question, what is the point of having Vijayanagar Empire as a part of our syllabus? Why do we study it? What's the point? Okay, watch through 2 videos and then we'll and form new conjectures. We're realizing economy is important. We're realizing they're trading with the world.
कौन है जो सबसे चतुर बेदोशक इश्क दिगड़म कभी न होती कम वो है पल में तोला है और माशबी कभी है मन चला ता ना 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 ता ना 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 ता ना 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 तेनाली रामा.
Okay. Any new opinions before we move on to the next video? Diksha, after you.
So apart from the geographical advantage that the Vijayanagar Empire had, they also had a good council of ministers herein, as we see Tenali Rama himself, capable ministers
Mhm.
who helped in the administration of the kingdom very well.
Okay. Now I want you to show another video, and then we'll look at new opinions. Shipra, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. I recall a point that important people will always hire intelligent people or more capable people, and we see that happening over here.
Okay. Makes sense. But let's move on to a new video. And now try to connect dots. How does modern day world interlinks with whatever was happening so many hundreds of years ago?
About the Israel-Palestine conflict is that it's been going on for centuries, all about ancient religious hatreds. In fact, while religion is involved, conflict's mostly about two groups of people who claim the same land, and it really only goes back about a century to the early 1900s. Around then, the region along the eastern Mediterranean we now call Israel-Palestine, been under Ottoman rule for centuries, was religiously diverse, including mostly Muslims and Christians, also a small number of Jews who lived generally in peace. It was changing in two important ways. First, more people in the region were developing a sense of being not just ethnic Arabs, but Palestinians, a distinct national identity. At the same time, not so far away in Europe, more Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, which said that Judaism was not just a religion, but a nationality, one that deserved a nation of its own. And after centuries of persecution, many believed a Jewish state was their only way of safety and saw their historic homeland in the Middle East as their best hope for establishing it. In the first decades of the 20th century, tens of thousands of European Jews moved there. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and British and French empires carved up the Middle East, the British taking control of a region it called the British Mandate for Palestine. At first, the British allowed Jewish immigration, but as more Jews arrived, settling into farming communities, tension between Jews and Arabs grew. Both sides committed acts of violence, and by the 1930s, the British began limiting Jewish immigration. In response, Jewish militias formed to fight both the local Arabs and to resist British rule. Then came the Holocaust, leading many more Jews to flee Europe for British Palestine and galvanizing much of the world in support of a Jewish state. In 1947, as sectarian violence between Jews and Arabs there grew, the United Nations approved a plan to divide British Palestine into two separate states. One for Jews, Israel, and one for Arabs, Palestine. The city of Jerusalem, where Jews, Muslims, and Christians all have holy sites, was to become a special international zone. The plan was meant to give Jews a state, to establish Palestinian independence, and to end the sectarian violence that the British could no longer control. The Jews accepted the plan, and they declared independence as Israel. But Arabs throughout the region saw the UN plan as just more European colonialism trying to steal their land. Many of the Arab states, who had just recently won independence themselves, declared war on Israel in an effort to establish a unified Arab Palestine where all of British Palestine had been. The new state of Israel won the war, but in the process, they pushed well past their borders.
Okay. Israel, Arab, Palestine. Geography is important. Bahamani Kingdom, Vijyanagar Empire. Geography will also play a role. Any new thoughts? Let me again circle back to the same question. Why are we studying this? age. What's the point? Twinkle?
So from the video, I can probably relate it to the Khalistan movement, which is picking up right now. And we also see where land or region has to be divided on the basis of religion. Those demarcations, they do not really last the test of history. And we might probably be studying these empires right now because they may be completely different in their ideology. We see from the post reads, I do remember that the Vijayanagar Empire got established after the Tughlaq Empire declined. So maybe they were able to revive culture there, and probably a strong Hindu sentiment down there, probably. Those are my conjectures.
Okay, so the geographical advantage that Shipra spoke of has also many perils to it, because the kingdom is now surrounded by empires that might not agree with their worldview. Mohit, what do you think?
Sir, I can correlate this video with the Vijayanagar Empire and Bahamani Empire, as in I believe that they both have emerged from a same place, like the Jews and Muslims and Christians have emerged, and they expanded in different location, different geographic areas, and that is how they both both the religions. And
no worries. Let's good attempt. But what we'll do is, let's talk about why are we even studying this? Because if you don't have clarity on why we study certain subjects, you will not enjoy the subjects. Because there's a lot of commentary on a topic called globalization and how it's on a decline these days, especially the Western media. The usual argument is that COVID-19 disrupted supply chains and there should be decoupling from China. Decoupling. It means reducing economic, technological ties with China. But globalization does not mean made in China. When Apple moves an iPhone factory from China to India and keeps selling phones across the globe, the world is still globalized. When countries like India, Vietnam, Bangladesh, they grow, it will perhaps help and give more impetus and boost to globalization. Why? Because now there will be more trade with each other. So hundreds of years ago, there was an empire in India which had a thriving economy, an economy that made it into one of the wealthiest empires in India. It was an empire where rulers established diplomatic relations with countries as far as Portugal, Persia, and even Southeast Asia. It was an empire which was visited by travelers from across the globe. Ibn Battuta visited it from Morocco. Niccolo di Conte from Venice. Why? To get the glimpse of this empire. Abdul Razak to Domingo Pace. Travelers, merchants, diplomats, they came in from various parts of the globe to get the glimpse of the Southern Empire. And much like the modern day Israel, this kingdom was surrounded by sultans and the sultanates that practiced a completely distinct religion. Even in the medieval ages, the kingdom was building temples to reflect not just its wealth, but the grandeur of its civilization. Today, we all want to visit Hampi and the ruins of Hampi. But amidst those ruins lived the kings and artists and poets who contributed immensely to the culture of India. Some of the greatest works in literature were written in this age. Some of the greatest temples were built in this age. The tussles of Tenali and Pingali still survives, unlike the Hampi ruins. Yeah, those are ruins. So this was the age of Vijayanagar kingdom. And this kingdom was a remarkable kingdom. If you looked at the map, you would realize that this kingdom dominated south of Vindhyas. Both Bahamani and Vijayanagar dominated south of Vindhyas for more than 200 years. That is almost 2 times the amount of time that British ruled over India. Look at British in just 100 years. The British Crown, I mean, not the East India Company. In just 100 years, British rule had such a massive impact in the history of India. Think about the kind of impact Vijayanagar and the Bahamani kingdom will have in the Deccan and the South. They not only built magnificent capitals and cities, their rule didn't just promote art, but their rule also provided law and order and development of commerce and handicraft. When we were seeing the forces of disintegration in northern India, at the same time, South India and the Deccan had a long spell of stable governments. Stability will end in 200 years, though. First, the Bahamanis will end. In 50 years after their end, Vijayanagar Empire will also collapse. And then the Indian scene will be transformed by the arrivals of 2 empires. Who will be those 2 empires? Who will be those new rulers? Chiranjeev?
So, hello everyone. So I can think of one empire as the arrivals of Mughals, like Babur
Mughals in North
in
India. But what about South India?
Marathas might be.
What about Portuguese?
Yeah, French invasion, Portuguese and European powers. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll analyze. But it's not just Mughals. Many nationalities are aiming for India. Our history books have forgotten about these kingdoms, but we should not. Medieval history does not begin or end with Mughals, because there existed remarkable kings in various parts of India. And today's class is dedicated to one such empire, the Vijayanagar Empire. It's a very important phase in India's history. 4 dynasties will rule Sangam, Saluva, Tuluva, Aravidu. These are important names. Sangam, Saluva, Tuluva, Aravidu. And we will remember, we will come across these names again and again in today's class. So if you have not written, absolutely fine. But how do we know about Vijayanagar Empire? What are our sources? Rishabh, if you were to behave like Sherlock Holmes, how would you reconstruct the history of Vijayanagar Empire? Let me give this privilege to Gulshad. After you, Gulshad.
Yes, sir. There may be a lot of sources. First could be the writing of the emperor, if the emperor is a poet or he has written something, and also the court poet and the foreign travelers. And other thing could be archaeological evidence, like the monuments which existed even today. The remnants of the monuments could be the source to get the idea of them.
Yeah, beautifully said. It's a regular story across the ages. Literary, archaeological, numismatic evidences. Numismatics? What is that? Twinkle?
So numismatics is the study of coins, and through the coins we come to know about the emperors of the time, and the material of the coin also tells us how progressive the economy was, how rich it was. And since you mentioned earlier that these empires were powerful economies, numismatic evidences will probably play an upper hand here in reconstructing the history, since you said that trade, one of their trademarks.
Absolutely. Literature becomes very important. Krishnadev Raya himself will write some remarkable books. The way BBC is traveling India today and is leaving its account, biased, unbiased, not sure, of India. The way various YouTubers travel the world and document their travels. Similarly, many foreign travelers visited Vijayanagar Empire. And their accounts are very valuable. Ibn Battuta, Moroccan traveler. Niccolo di Conti, Venetian traveler. Abdur Razak, not the cricketer, it's the Persian traveler. And Domingo Pace, a Portuguese traveler. They all left valuable accounts on the socio-economic conditions of Vijayanagar Empire. But why were they visiting the empire? What was the point? What's the incentive? From Morocco to Venice, to Persia, to Portuguese, why? Of all the places, why would they want to come to Vijayanagar Empire and not go to Bali or Australia? Ikshu?
So as we discussed that Vijayanagar Empire was the thriving land of trade, international trade. So obviously with traders and commerce also come travelers, as we've seen like in China also happened in the past and in India also in the Sultanate period. So I think because of that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're thinking practically. Shipra, what do you think?
Sir, magnificent cities were there, and wherever there was urbanization, we see that commerce and industry flourish, and travelers want to visit those urbanized areas, and cultural grandeur also because of the infrastructure.
Okay. Mohit, what are your thoughts?
Similar thoughts. The reason for the why they wanted to travel to India was because of the emperors in India who invited them. I believe that. So they wanted to leave the legacy. So they want them to be here and they want them to be right.
Leaving a legacy? Okay. How many of you, do you know of any YouTube travel vlogger, Mohit? Anyone who is famous?
No, not much. Though I am very frequent on YouTube, but I do not follow YouTube travels.
Okay. Sanjeet, any thoughts? Any famous YouTube vlogger who travels the world?
No.
There are many. Priyanka, this is not going to be a UPSC question, so don't worry if you don't know the answer.
Sir, Curly Tails, the video that we saw in the, so I think she travels a lot. She has that proper
Okay, Curly
startup.
Tails could be one. Lost Le Blanc is another. And there are many like them. Do they do it for passion? No. They can do it. They can travel to one country or two countries. But how do you justify passion if you don't have money, if you don't have food on your plate? They do it because they can monetize on those YouTube videos. So was Ibn Battuta, Niccolo di Conti, Abdur Razak, Domingo Pace were doing it for passion? No. Were they doing it to explore the world? No. They were merchants. When Niccolo di Conti, the Venetian merchant, when he came to Vijayanagar Empire, his main purpose was not the passion for travel. His main purpose was to establish commercial ties with empire's rulers. At the time of his visit, Vijayanagar Empire was one of the wealthiest and most powerful empires in India. It had a thriving economy. And like any thriving economy, rulers were very keen to establish trade relations with foreign merchants. And foreign merchants like Niccolo di Conti saw the opportunity and made the best use of it. And of course, when they come, they will also write blog posts. They will create their YouTube videos. And that's how we know about the Vijayanagar Empire. That's one of the sources. Same story with other travelers who came in because they were merchants. Domingo Pace. He will again come to establish trade relations and perhaps want to expand Portuguese trade in the region. Of course, while doing so, they will document the rich culture, society of this powerful empire. And in that process, Persian Abdur Razak to Moroccan Ibn Battuta to Venetian Niccolo di Conti will all document the rich culture and society of the mighty, powerful empire. These names are important. Where they come from is also important. You can be asked a question and match the following. Which one came from which part of the world? You could be asked a question, which one visited which empire? So I'll repeat again. Ibn Battuta was a Moroccan traveler. Niccolo di Conti was a Venetian traveler. Abdur Razak was a Persian traveler. Domingo Pace was a Portuguese traveler.